nature, the universe, has repercussions for breaking certain laws. If you break certain natural laws, certain universal laws, then guess what? There's going to be a consequence for it. And people don't want to hear this shit. Especially because people right now are being taught to hate structure because they keep on tying structure with villains. They keep on tying structure to like villainizing shit and anti-structure with victims. Like, oh, look, these people were victimized because of structure and shit like that. And it's not the structure. It's who sets the structure and the reason for the structure. If there's a structure that's built to connect people, that's built on love, that's built on empowerment, then that structure should fucking be there. If there's a structure for dividing people, if there's a structure for controlling people, if there's a structure for disempowering people, right, making people more dependent, then that structure needs to be destroyed. Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your bro with a God. Today I'm talking about another show recommendation. I know you're gonna be like, oh damn, another one? Yup, another one to tie into what I said in my last video. So this show is called The Woke and it's on Hulu. It's about this black dude who's an artist and basically something happens to him that causes him to be more aware of how society views him and how the world views him, basically. Not really the world, just how society that he lives in actually views him and what people would like really think about, you know, him being black and stuff like that. He goes through the territory of awareness. First, he becomes scared. Then he gets like sad, depressed. After that, he becomes angry. And then he gets to a level of acceptance. And don't worry, even though I'm saying all this, it's not a spoiler alert. There is a lot to the show for you to watch and check out. Now, this is a mass media programming show though. And it's also shot in Cali, San Francisco, you know what I'm saying? So there's definitely a whole bunch of agenda bullshit being pushed into this show, right? It's very aggressive with specific agendas, which I'm gonna warn you about now, so that way you can stay in guard of your mind when watching this show and take what you want from it, not the shit you don't want. So being that it's from San Francisco and, you know, very progressive area and shit like that. So one thing you see in progressive communities a lot is villainizing masculinity, right? They always villainize masculine entities, masculine personas by making them hateful, making them angry, making them over structured and shit like that, right? Basically exaggerating certain masculine traits and then confusing it with other traits that aren't masculine. Being overly expressive, even though you're angry and shit, is not masculine. That's actually feminine. Anything that involves expression is feminine. Masculinity is stoicism. So it means like keeping a frame, not letting words and shit affect you. That's being stoic. When words affect you and you feel like you gotta react aggressively, that's actually a feminine reaction, you feel me? Because water is what reacts to vibration. Water reacts to sound. Earth, masculine element earth, does not react to sound. The mountains don't move or vibrate because you're yelling at it, but water does. You yell at water and shit like that, you'll see like some type of, you know, if you play music around water and shit, you'll see the water start to vibrate and shit. So water is affected by it. So feminine entities are affected by verbal abuse and shit. As a masculine entity, you're not really affected by it. Like words are not supposed to affect you as much. You're more physical. You're waiting for like the physical problem for you to react physically. That's why you see when like men disagree and stuff like that, verbally, it goes real quick to, so what you want to do about it? Like, yo, so what you want to do? We're not going to keep going back and forth with these words and shit because they don't really do nothing. Alright? So yeah, they villainize masculinity. Alright? Be aware of that. Another thing that they do is they empower the privileged mindset. Now remember, the privileged mindset is just the whole mindset of, I can do this, you can't do this. I can say this, you can't say this. I could wear this, you can't wear this. And then it's all because I can and you can't because I suffered, or someone who looks like me or likes what I like or does what I do suffered for looking like me or doing what I do or liking what I like or being born the same shit that I'm born at. Like, because they suffered, I could do this and you can't, basically, right? The whole being privileged because you're a victim type shit. You feel me? Which makes no sense. If you want everybody to be equal, if you want equality and stuff like that, then basically everybody should be able to say everything. If you don't want somebody saying a certain word, don't say the word around them. No matter how cool you think the word is, no matter how comfortable you are with the word, if you don't want a specific person saying that word, don't say the word. You know, a lot of women feel that way about the B word. Black people feel that way about the N word and stuff. But then you're saying it around people that can't say that. And you don't really know how that feels till it happens to you. Till you're in the environment and people are saying words and then that you can't say. Now you're like, you gotta like hold your tongue. They're basically saying like they're above you. Like they could say more than you can because, you know, they suffered through some shit or whatever like that. But that's not the case. Like, how many privileges are we gonna fucking give people? You know, we gotta get rid of privilege. You can't get mad about white privilege and then have acceptance over black privilege. Using the N-word and then white people can't use the N-word and then you're using the N-word in front of white people, that's a privilege. That's you flexing your privilege in front of them. So we gotta get rid of the privilege. The privilege mindset doesn't fucking help nobody. It actually defeats the purpose of equality and it just creates more division. The third thing is anti-gender roles and also sexual marketplace structure, basically. Anti-sexual traits and shit. You're gonna see that also in this show. You also see this with this whole progressive bullshit where they're like, oh, any gender could be a gender, whatever gender. Anybody could like anything. And you know what I'm saying? Like no type of structure at all. Like basically shit with no purpose. If something has a purpose, it has to have a structure. If something has a purpose, it has to have some type of boundary. Now, we could all agree that people need, obviously, space to grow. People need to be able to, explore, experience, and that takes a little extension of structure and boundaries and shit. But regardless, there are structure and boundaries. Nature, the universe, has repercussions for breaking certain laws. If you break certain natural laws, certain universal laws, then guess what? There's going to be a consequence for it. And people don't want to hear this shit. Especially because people right now are being taught to hate structure because they keep on tying structure with villains. They keep on tying structure to like villainizing shit and anti-structure with victims. Like, oh, look, these people were victimized because of structure and shit like that. And it's not the structure. It's who sets the structure and the reason for the structure. If there's a structure that's built to connect people, that's built on love, that's built on empowerment, then that structure should fucking be there. If there's a structure for dividing people, if there's a structure for controlling people, if there's a structure for disempowering people, right, making people more dependent, then that structure needs to be destroyed. We gotta identify which structures to keep and which structures to destroy. Because the whole no structure thing is fucking stupid and it leads to chaos. So what oppressors do, anybody with an oppressor mindset, what they do is that they get rid of all structure. Because when there's no structure, there's chaos. And then they allow for a moment of chaos. Chaos, riots, people doing whatever the fuck they want. And then, people notice that without structure, shit goes crazy. There's chaos. And then people get tired of chaos, right? People want purpose. People want, to get from point A to point B. In order to get from point A to point B, you gotta draw a fucking line at some point. You can't just go all over the fucking place that you're gonna get from point A to point B. So they allow for chaos to happen so that way they could implement a new structure. So that's the whole purpose behind this whole anti-structure, anti-role shit. So that way there could be chaos, and then what they're gonna do is that they're gonna implement their own structure and their own roles, right? They're destroying basically what were the old rules, the old structure, the old roles. Now you can have whatever feelings you want behind it, but the original structure, the original roles are already in nature, and those don't fucking change. Those are the foundation for building structure and roles. If you want to build a structure and roles that aid you and what you love and what you want to be and shit like that, then start from the foundation that nature set. Because that's what's been working for millions of fucking years. Your new structure is not going to work better than nature's structure. Anyway, next. All right. The mob mentality. That's another thing the show has. The mob mentality, basically empowering villainizing masculinity, empowering the privileged mindset, empowering the destruction of gender roles and sexual roles and traits and shit like that. Empowering all that bullshit is the mob mentality. Now, what is the mob mentality? Here's a good example of mob mentality. I'm gonna give you a fact, and I'm gonna give you how the mob mentality works. Now, I love math because math, no matter who says it, math is always universally like correct. You feel me? 1 + 1 = 2. No, in every fucking language, right? It's a universal language. 1 + 1 = 2. No matter if you're Asian, you're black, you're white, what country you're in, what language you speak, 1 + 1 = 2. So no matter who says 1 + 1 = 2, 1 + 1 = 2. Let's say there's two people and they want to say that they're right about something. They want to say, yo, one person's like, hey, 1 + 1 = 2. But that person is a rapist, a racist, a murderer, homophobic, all the bad shit that you could fucking think of, right? But that person's saying 1 + 1 = 2. Then on the other side, you got a person who is supposedly a good person. They donate money, they support all the fucking rights, you know, they wear all types of flags and shit, right? They're basically what the media portrays as a good person. They took every freaking jab you could think of. So then there's that person. And that person is saying, well, no, 1 + 1 really equals 11. You know, people are like, what? Like, yeah, 1 + 1 = 11. The person saying 1 + 1 = 2, that person is a rapist, a murderer, a racist, Are you gonna really believe that person to be right? I mean, given all the stuff that they believe in, given all the stuff that they like and they do, you really gonna believe that 1 + 1 = 2? Like, look, I donate money. I take care of people. I love people. And I'm saying 1 + 1 = 11. And now the mob mentality is going to be like, damn, I don't want to agree with the rapist and the racist and the homophobic. And I don't want to agree with that person. So that person must be wrong. This person must be right. And now all the math is all fucked up. Everything about math is fucked up because people want to agree with a specific person that 1 + 1 now equals 11. It doesn't equal 2 no more. Because a person that had characteristics that the mob doesn't like said something. So whatever the fuck they said must be wrong because their beliefs, their characteristics, their actions and all that shit are wrong. So what they're saying has to be fucking wrong. And you see, that's how people set a structure based on emotion. Set a culture based on emotion. You can't build a culture based on emotions. You can't build a structure based on emotion. You gotta build a structure, you gotta build a culture based on facts, based on what really works, based on what is true, not on what you feel. Or else, if you feel like the person that says 1 + 1 = 11 because they're a nice person, and because you don't like the person that says 1 + 1 = 2, now we gotta change all the fucking math books. We gotta change all types of math. And then now our math is gonna be all fucking off. We don't know how far a mile is. We don't know the distance between here and the moon. Everything's gonna be all fucked up. And that causes fucking chaos. And that's what's going on right now. People are being villainized for what is true because of whatever their belief is, whatever character they have, whatever flaw they have. And then they're using their flaw, their character, their beliefs to basically paint them as a villain. And now that they're a villain, whatever they say must be wrong. And people are not thinking about what the person is saying. They're just using their emotions. They're like, oh, I don't like this person, so they must be saying something wrong. And that is the mob mentality. That's what you gotta be aware of when watching this show. When watching all these type of fucking programmings, all right? Even though I'm recommending this show, so you could see a person go through the terror barrier. And the show does have pretty good writing. You know, it is kind of funny and shit like that. But you gotta be aware of these things. You gotta be aware of villainizing masculinity. You gotta be aware of the destruction of, you know, sexual and gender roles. You gotta be aware of the privileged mindset, the victim mindset. You gotta be aware of the mob mentality. You gotta be aware of all these things, okay? Because if you're not, you're gonna fall victim to them, all right? You're gonna allow that to subconsciously program you. And you're gonna be stuck in a cycle of chaos. You're gonna be structured wrong. Imagine your world where 1 + 1 does not equal 2. It equals 11 now. Imagine that. all your shit's gonna be all fucked up. All your shit is gonna be miscalculated, uneven, and shit like that. So yeah, be mindful of, you know, all those warnings. But check the show out. It's a guy going through the terror barrier. You see him go, you know, through emotions and stuff like that. And you can easily relate that to yourself through whatever you're going through. And now that you are aware of all these agendas being pushed on you, now you can stand guard. Alright? Anyways, your boy the guy. I'll catch y'all next time. 1.